Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome, Armando. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Anja. Good morning, everyone. Doing fantastic. The weather is
Great.
beautiful. I have peace, a lot of things accomplished this week, and now ready to talk about personal growth with you.
Amazing. Great. Um, yeah, so let's just dive in. Today we're going to talk about overcoming obstacles in
Hmm.
personal growth. So, yeah, let's just start
Let's go for
with,
it.
yeah. So how do you, or what are obstacles? Let's start there. What are obstacles that we face when it comes to new habits and our personal growth? What are obstacles you have faced in the past?
When starting a new habit or in general, you
For
mean?
example, for example, yeah, starting a new habit.
Oh yeah,
What?
okay. In my case, some of the obstacles that I've usually faced that I have identified is stay motivated.
Mm,
What I mean by that is that it's easy to be motivated. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this. Oh yeah, then, I can see myself at the end of goal line and accomplishing whatever I dream of and so on. But then motivation can fade really quick after the first training day or after a couple of days of learning something or whatever. This is a very general thing that I have identified in my life. So staying motivated is a huge thing, because I believe um, I shoot my goals. I stake my goals too high sometimes. I mean, not. I've learned from that. I don't think that's the case, but I have to keep an eye on that, right? So if I try to accomplish something too big, too too hard, too difficult, or whatever, right? Then it's not balanced, because of course, time, resources, energy, other um, commitments play a role when
mhm.
trying to do something new. So if I exaggerate, then like, oh no, then I discover it's not doable, or it's too hard, or there are conflicts with other commitments and so on and so forth. So then motivation fades, and the potential to keep it in the tray of to do is very high. So yeah, motivation.
Motivation. Yeah,
You
I know that problem.
you can relate to that one.
I can relate to that one. Yes, yes. Um, yeah, for me, it's also like sticking to it, not only motivational wise, but also um, when something like when life gets in between it,
Ah.
I might still be motivated to do it, but I don't have I or something comes like new responsibilities or I don't know what. I just recently, with my running goal, I experienced that I started to have knee pain.
Oh no.
So I talked to a doctor and he told me I should pause for 2 weeks because I probably have done too much and my I
Mm.
don't know how to say this in English, but it's like my knee isn't as fast as I want it to be
Yeah.
in building the proper muscles and everything. So
Mm.
that starts to hurt. So I should switch to swimming or riding a bicycle for
Okay.
2 weeks and not running. And those are things that can come in between the goals and also like I said, sometimes new responsibilities or the schedule changes and you have less time or things like that. I think those are also obstacles that
Mm,
can get in the way of our goals.
mm.
And that's why I think it's also important to be flexible
You know,
with the
that's
goal.
right, right. I think that's a little similar to what I was saying because, for example, with jogging, which is like a very vivid image of what is happening with your knee,
Mm-hmm.
is that maybe uh, you tried too much, too soon, too long, and did that had effect on your body. And they're like, okay, the
Yeah,
body says, hold on, take it easy on me, right? Uh, and then you have to adjust.
yeah,
But it's good that you don't. In this case, you are not losing motivation. That's a great thing because you are finding another solution to compensate to keep your cardio going.
yeah.
Because I assume you're running around the lake. Goal is not forgotten, right?
No, exactly. I'm still motivated. I was very bummed when the doctor told me I should stop. But luckily, as you said, I'm still going for it just differently. And
Right.
luckily it's now nice weather, so I can go swimming,
Mm,
which is still good for the body. So
yeah. Well, so,
it was perfect timing.
right, right. It's
The
perfect
rainy days
timing.
are over. I can go swimming now.
Well, this is just a suggestion for you. If you cannot run around the lake, you can swim around the lake. How big is the lake, Anya?
It's big. And I don't want to run around the lake. I want to run to the lake.
Ah,
The
to
run
the lake.
around the
Sorry,
lake
sorry,
is
sorry.
like a half marathon. So
Oh, really? Is that huge? That big?
that's not the goal.
Okay, okay.
I
It's a
could
pretty big
cross
lake.
the lake. It's a bit, well, it's not big. It's
Well,
yeah.
20 kilometers is it's pretty
Yeah.
significant, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a small lake. Yeah.
But could you swim across the lake? I mean, just curious. I mean, I don't know
I guess I
how
could.
wide that is.
I honestly don't know because swimming I mostly do in the, ooh, I don't even know how this is called, but we have like lanes
Okay.
and it's very close to me. So the lake is a little bit further away, but I can walk to the swimming pool
Yeah.
here in my city.
Hmm.
So I go there
Okay.
normally. And they
Yeah.
have like lanes where you can swim back and forth.
Right. Right. Well, I wish you a speed recovery because I know it's like
Thank
really
you.
knees are so important, in our
Yeah.
whole in our body. It's amazing. I mean, we don't pay attention or we don't, you know, we take it for granted, and then when they hurt and you cannot use them properly, like, oh my gosh, it's like, I cannot do this, I cannot do this other thing, or so like, yeah, yeah, take care of
Yeah.
yourself.
Thanks. Yeah, I will. Yeah, but that's like an example in my life of obstacles that I faced in my journey. It's funny that it was, or well, not funny, but
Yeah,
it's a good example that it happened this week when we
right.
talk about this. Yeah.
You know,
Um,
when if I have another one, I don't know if I mentioned it before or where that's off camera, because I was thinking about obstacles. You sent me the notes and about the today's podcast, and I was thinking, well, there is a few, and the what I guess both are related, and but how I face them, I think the principle is that, right? I mean, what we want to talk
mhm,
about is at the beginning, learning the language for a foreigner in
yeah,
any country. In my case, here in Germany, it will be the
yeah,
same for you if you go to Mexico, for example, and having to learn the language, having to adjust to the culture, having to adjust to new food, having new people, and so on and so forth, right? New bureaucracy and processes and so on. But it's no different from for any um, foreigner coming to Europe, to Switzerland, to Germany. And in my case, it was language. German is not the easiest language. Of course, we're not talking about Chinese or Korean. That's a whole different game, I think.
yeah.
But it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Mm,
I think it's easy for you German speaking people to learn Spanish than for Latin Americans to learn German. I don't know. That might be a subjective, very subjective um, thinking. But did you find it difficult for you to learn Spanish when you were in Bolivia?
Um, yes and no. I think it depends a little bit, but I think there are a few things that are easier in
Mm,
Spanish, for example, than in German,
hmm.
especially like we have in English it's even easier. They have the book,
Yeah,
and in Spanish it's feminine and masculine.
yeah.
And in German we have three different
Der, die,
how do you
das.
say exactly. And
Articles, yeah.
articles, yes, and you there's no like in Spanish, if there's an a at the end of the word, it's most likely feminine. There's nothing like that in German,
Right.
or at least I don't know anything
I mean,
like
I
there's
never found
no
anything like that. No.
yeah, there's no you can't know, you just have to learn what it is.
Right.
There's no reason why it's feminine or masculine or
Neutral.
neither.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I think it is
That's a little
more
advantage,
difficult.
right? In Spanish.
What? Sorry.
That's a little advantage, because you can
Yes.
identify what that is, right?
Yes.
No, in German is different because you have, and then that declinations, right? Genitive, dative,
Yeah.
accusative, and what was the other one that is hardly used, that is very elegant, and we use it a lot in Spanish. That's weird. The Oh, genitive, right? That's
Genitive, accusative,
das Buch
dative.
des Mädchens. Right? I mean, that sounds. I mean, very few people use it. I mean, written German and Hoch German is used, but in Spanish we use it a lot, and so that's one of my goals to master genitive in German, but but language as an example, and as a foreigner, anywhere you go. I mean, when you go to if you go to Latin America, if you're in Europe, or if you're coming to Europe, I mean, you have to work double, maybe like three times harder. That's just the way it is.
Mm,
And you know that. I mean, because why? Because you are a foreigner in a strange land, in a new land, so you have to prove yourself. If you have skills, then you have to prove you're better than others. That's just the way it is, because it is that way. And so you have to like compete. You have to, and then to compete, you have to learn the language. And then you have to have the stamina. Don't be discouraged. And then the weather, of course. That's we were talking about the weather of camera, right? So if you are not accustomed to the weather, to the food, and so on and so forth. So
mm,
yeah, it was difficult. In going back to the main question, it was difficult and I'm still working on German after 20 some years. But yeah, to decide, just to take the bull by the horns and say, like, I have to master the language. Or if I don't have the language, I'm nobody. Literally, because I cannot communicate, I cannot do business, I cannot go to you know do some business at the Standesamt, or I don't know, the city, municipality, whatever. If you don't have the language, you're pretty much zero to the left. So you cannot play. You cannot make friends with your neighbor,
mm,
in your neighborhood, and so on and so forth. So yeah, was a huge obstacle in life, and there was no other. And for a year, I must say this, for a year I was very discouraged, because it was very slow. The growth was very slow. It was very challenging. I couldn't pronounce certain sounds or certain words, and then you have that imposter syndrome. It's like, no, people are going to laugh at me. I'm not, you know, and then I had some bad experiences while trying to speak German. So it was at the beginning very, very, very hard, until I had to make the decision. You just have to do it. Don't think about it. Don't just go for it. Otherwise, you're not going to make progress in life here. Yeah.
I think that's actually what you're talking about here is probably one of the hardest obstacle to overcome is that discouragement of not seeing the progress we wish we had, and especially nowadays, where everything's so fast and
Mm,
you feel like everybody gets just what they want in seconds.
mm,
To really realize that we have to work for the things that are worthwhile. John Maxwell says it, everything that's worthwhile is uphill. So we have to really make one step after the other, and it's hard, and it's not gonna just happen, and
mm,
most of the times it's not overnight.
mm,
And that's really, I think that's one of the main obstacles for people to stop and to not keep growing is to be because they're discouraged and they
mm,
feel like it's not happening, and for everybody else it's happening so fast but not for me. And yeah, to keep going when you don't see the progress, that's consistency, and that's, I think, the goal, to learn to be disciplined even if you don't see the results yet, and just believe that there will come results.
mm. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about those days back then. So like, because now when I look back, it's, yeah, I mean, it seemed that the goal seemed to be so far away,
Mhm.
you know. Yeah, meaning, in my case, the language, for example, right?
Yeah,
And just almost being invisible. I mean, I think it's almost that drastic. And afterwards, having worked with a lot of foreigners through, through my coaching job that I have, and that I have had over the last 10 years, and before that as a pastor, and and seeing them how difficult it was for them to come, to arrive, to get an apartment, try to find a job, if they had kids, right, try to read the letter, the letter that they got from school, because the kids,
yeah,
they had to do whatever, or get, those type of things. uh, Remembering those, that I was in that position one day. Yeah, it, it was discouraging in the sense that you didn't know, when will I be proficient, for
yeah,
example, when will I be, how do they call that, selbstständig, see, I'm forgetting English as well. Or, independent, when will I be
yeah.
independent, self-sufficient in that sense.
Hmm.
It the goal seemed to be so far away, so it was very easy to be discouraged. Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's also like, for me it was also always in the beginning, the steps are bigger.
Mm,
I don't know how it is in German, but I think that's probably my, um, how I learned languages is
mhm,
oftentimes in the beginning there were big steps,
mhm,
because from not knowing any words to understanding what people are talking about is
mm,
like, wow, I understand them. But then once you really dive into it and you really have to study it and you realize, then it gets harder, and
right.
that's most of the times it's like the beginning is really motivating. It was also like that in the beginning with running. I
Mm,
saw the progress I was making, but then it stopped.
right.
It was like, well, or it even went back. I was more tired, or
Right.
also depending on the weather outside, when it's really hot, you don't it you're out of breath really fast, and when it's colder it's better, like all those things. And then you feel like, well, I was faster last time. Why am I not as fast this time? Like
What's
you
happening?
look back and you feel like it's not going uphill. It's like,
Right.
and that's how growth is. It's like this, but it goes slowly, goes up. But there are times when it's like really not going the direction you want it to.
Right.
And that's just, yeah,
It's
those are
it,
the discouraging things that,
yeah, because I as humans we tend to focus on the negative usually, right?
yeah,
Okay, I was, we're happy to if we make a progress, but then if we fall on a dip, on a slope, on a deep slope, then we will get really discouraged and want to just like, get annoyed. I'm just wasting my time, whatever. It's just amazing how our brain um, betray us sometime.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it's, well, at least for me, it's important to have like people around me that I can talk to, that we talked about it last, or
I think
in
so, right? Last
the
time.
episodes before, we talked
Hmm.
about accountability partners. And I think that's so important that you have people around you that help you keep motivated and that tell you when you're like, oh, I'm not making progress and I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Then to have people around you that are like, well, but look at the progress you've already made, keep going, and that motivate you, that helps a lot, I think.
Absolutely.
Do you have other suggestions or tips to keep going in this discouraging time?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, and this is part of the training that we do, and you and I, is the ability to take small steps and to develop a strategy and a smart strategy. And I believe we're going to talk about that in our next episode. So stay tuned, people. But yeah, I will say small. Think small. We mentioned that before in the past. So think small. And because if you take small steps, you will make, or the appearance is that you are making very slow progress, but on the contrary, it will be steady progress that eventually
Mhm.
will explode. It will be exponential. And as an example, if I may use it, but this is applicable to anything we are doing in life. So this is something that I practiced when I was learning English and when I was learning German. One of other strategies, but this is very easy and it's applicable to any other aspect of life. So three to five new words per day. So what I would do is that I would identify, okay, people use that word often. What is that? So I will write it down and say, okay, it seems to be a useful word because it's used on the daily basis and very often. So at the end of the day, I will sit down with my list and I will write it down. So I can read it out loud and I can write it, right? So I can get used to, I know when next time when I hear it, I will hear the sound in my head and I will in my head see the way that word is written, right? So I would
Mhm.
do that and say like, well, 3 words. Yeah, well, when you think about it, at the end of the month, we're not talking about 3 words. We're talking about what is that, 90 words? In 10
Yeah.
days is 30. In a month is 90 to 100 words. And the thing is that this principle will exemplifies how new habits work, right? In an exponential way. Because when I got, okay, first month, 100 words, second month, I have 200 words in my pocket. But then slowly, because you get to know so many words, like that by the third or fourth month, you already are learning the language faster and efficiently. So you
Mhm.
are by after half a year is you have a vocabulary of 1,000 plus words. right? And basically that's what you need to communicate. You need about 1,000 to 1,500 words to communicate in a very, maybe childlike manner, if you like, but you can communicate with people. And then from there, it's exponential. So, but everything based on this principle, 3 words, small. I mean, I have time to learn 3 new words per day. That's not a big deal. So everyone can do it. Even me, even Armando did it. So everyone can do it. So that's just an example of small steps with big results or big harvest at the end. Yeah, that would be my encouragement to everyone.
And keep the end in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to end our episode today, but we're gonna dive in deeper next time, so stay tuned. It was really nice to talk to you again, Armando. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, and I hope everybody enjoyed our episode, and see you next time.
See you then. Bye.